Turn my. Is that better to turn it like that or?
Yeah, no, turn it back the way you had it.
Okay.
All right, I'm right here with my guy Ken McFeeters. Is okay? I call you Ken.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. This is Darius Davis, your host with the What If Show. Everybody tuning in right now is my guy Ken, and he will be running this year for governor of Alabama. And I'd like to let him introduce himself a little bit. Ken, for people who don't know you, who are you outside of politics?
I've been in Alabama since 1971, started a business in 1981, an insurance agency with my family. Been doing that for 45 years. Um, I got involved in politics, and I guess through my industry as a necessity, and had to deal with Montgomery to try to get some legislation stopped that affected our industry. And they tend to do that. I mean, government government can make or break industries, and the lobbyists know that. And that's what's wrong with government down in Montgomery. They kind of people use it, and they've used it to take over our educational system. They've used it to taking over our food supply. Our farmers have been put out of business. They've used it to take over the medical industry and destroy. I mean, look around you. No one's healthy anymore, and that's done by the folks in our legislatures and politics. They tend to consolidate industries. Whatever they get into, they're going to make fewer and fewer owners and fewer people that are in control. And unfortunately that's what our legislature has done. And I'm tired of it. I mean, I'm tired of losing freedoms. And I'm running against a guy, Tuberville. If I was the U.S. senator, I would go up there and try to repeal the Patriot Act, give the people some freedoms back. I won't fly anymore because every time I go to the airport, it breaks my heart seeing how much our freedoms that we don't have. So, and he didn't do that, and what he went up there and he went on the Armed Services Committee, and he's gotten through what the government needs to use military and intelligence agency software that we designed to be used against our enemies turned on the American people. And that's what all these data centers are for. And it's like, I'm tired of this. I mean, that's government has exceeded its intended constitutions. The people have the power. The people empower government through our constitutions. You need this. I got to read. Alabama's Constitution, in Article 1, Section 35 of our Constitution. And the constitutions are the people, us, the people. We empower government. They don't teach you this in school either. Article 1, Section 35, that the sole object and only legitimate end of government is to protect the citizen in the enjoyment of life, liberty, and property. Does that sound like what the government's doing? But it goes on. And when the government assumes other functions, it is usurpation and oppression. I have to look up usurpation. Usurpation is illegally taking power that's not yours and using it. And that, to me, usurpation and oppression is a lot of what our government's doing right now. And we, the people, need to say, no, we empower you. We didn't give you this much power over us. But they don't teach us that in schools, and they control our school systems.
Okay. All right, Ken. Well, I'm gonna introduce myself a little bit. I'm a school teacher. I teach.
You're gonna love some of what I've got to say, and you may
Okay.
understand it.
Okay. And I'm a U.S. history teacher. And so
Cool.
I teach 11th grade history. And I teach contemporary studies also. But I want to ask you this question,
Where
Ken.
do
I
you
know you
teach
talk
at?
about. I teach at Preston Junior High School. Used to be known as Lee High School in Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. And right now we're getting a new facility built. But we're right basically downtown Montgomery almost.
Right. I think back when I was in school, we played y'all in football and y'all beat us.
Yeah.
Well, I went to Berry High School. It's now Hoover High School.
Oh yeah, man. I know very well about Hoover High School. Yes, sir. Yeah, well, we're always known for football.
And
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So basically, I know, like I said, you're a businessman and a business guy. What moment in your life made you believe that you needed to, Alabama needs different leadership? What moment in your life brought you to that?
5 years ago, when I saw what the government did during the COVID shutdowns, and they shut down our businesses, shut down our schools, as you know, and I mean, and I saw so many kids just destroyed by when they did that. Um, they lost a year of education that you'll never get back. Or a lot of them won't, especially the kids that didn't have really disciplined parents, and it's going to be the poorer kids or whatever, and they lost a year of school that they'll never get back. If you've got rich kids that are helicopter parents that are overlooking you all the time, they're not going to lose anything. It's the poor kids that, with not the best households, those are the ones that lost. But they shut down our businesses, our churches, restaurants. It was idiotic. It was the most idiotic thing I've ever done. And then they also suppressed all kinds of medications. They suppressed what the doctors could do and couldn't do. We got a dog. She's itching herself. I
Yeah,
apologize if you can hear that in the background. But
you good.
it was absolutely ridiculous. And they shut down everything, but they did not shut down abortion clinics, and they did not shut down liquor stores.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just looking at that, like I said, that moment kind of set the fire in you to become leadership.
Well,
So
that's when I ran for Congress. I wanted to.
oh,
I
that's when you
wanted
ran
to
for Congress.
talk.
Okay.
Right. I ran for Congress, and I did not. I was not planning on winning, and I even told the people when I was running, I spent $25,000 of my own money, and I ran against Gary Palmer.
Okay.
He was a 10-year incumbent or whatever. He spent $2 million. Another guy up here spent almost a $500,000 of his
Wow.
own money. And Palmer spent 2 million of other people's money. I spent 25,000 of my own money. I won the cost per vote by a mile. Didn't win the
Wow.
election. They both got more votes than me, but the cost per vote I won by a mile. But I wanted to get out what's really, I mean, no one in Congress talks about what's really going on. So it's like, I wanted to talk about what's really going on, how our educational system was taken over, what our monetary system is. And it's really simple, but most people don't understand it. Our schools don't teach it. And I talked about how the Rockefellers took over education in our schools, and our schools are by design not to educate our children. And it's by design with Rockefeller. And he also took over the medical schools and shut down half the medical schools in the United States that didn't agree with his version of medicine. And if you look around right now, most folks are unhealthy, and most folks are taking all kinds of pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals are made up from petroleum products. Rockefeller was an oil man, and and our money supply now, and this is a lot of folks don't understand this, but it's the biggest crime in human history. But three companies that are really one company own nine controlling interest in 95% of our publicly traded companies. So they control 95% of our companies. 95% of our publicly traded companies are owned by one company, and they're about to own 60% of our single family homes. And that happened because of Congress and our monetary supply, because it allows a group of seven people, seven families, to print themselves money, literally print themselves money, and then loan it to us. And it's absolutely insane. But I wanted to talk about that. And nobody, because no one was talking about it. And so I did. And then I didn't win, but then all of a sudden this year it's like, with the governor's race, it's like there's not a lot we can do about the globalists. There's not a lot and the globalists, since George Bush, every sitting president in the United States has been a globalist and for the global agenda, every single one of them. So there's not a lot we can do about that. Our senators and congressmen don't want to talk about it, and they're the ones that are giving these men the right to issue our currency, even though the Constitution gives Congress the power to issue currency, but they ceded that to a group of 7 men 100 years ago, and it's destroying our country. But we can't do a whole lot about that from Alabama. And that's what it's like. What we need to do, I mean, somehow I see the big picture. I don't know why, but I see the big picture. But Alabama has to protect, and us, the people, have to take care of each other in Alabama. We, the people, need to be able to feed ourselves. Because our monetary system, our food supply is going to be used against us. The one company that owns 95% of all our publicly traded companies are controlling interests, so they basically own them. They own our food supply that's making us sick, and they also own the medical industry that's treating us, not curing us, treating us for being sick. And it's like, it's insane. So Alabama needs to be able to feed itself. We got to get back to be food independent. We need to start growing gardens again. We need to get local farmers. We need to get government out of farmers, out of the food industry, because government is the problem. They always, like I said, they micromanage, but they keep all the little guys out, and they protect market share. And we can't do that anymore. We got to get our small farmers back. We got to get gardens back. We have to feed ourselves. That's number one. Number two is education. If you look, it's not difficult. I know you're a teacher. I love you. You're one of the good ones. But systemically, the big picture is our schools are intentionally not teaching us. Thomas Jefferson said, an ignorant country and a free country is what never was and never will be. That's why they want us ignorant. And the other guy, I think it was Adams, I forget which father, said that only a virtuous people can be a free people. So if you're only a virtuous people and a free people, and this is on my with school, and you may like it. I mean, and Benjamin Franklin, when he was about 18 years old, sailing back from England, he devised a system of 13 virtues that he used for most of his life. He did this his entire life when he was 18 years old, and he lived to be a very old man at a time when people didn't live to be old men, and arguably one of the most successful men in history. I mean, we still know, everyone knows who Ben Franklin is, but he had a list of 13 virtues that he would go over every single day. At the end of the day, for each virtue, he would go for 1 week, and he figured that way it would become habitude. And what I want to do, every kid in Alabama, 1 hour a day, every day, for every day they're in school, and prisons. If you do something stupid, getting put in prison or put on parole, you got to do this program. But it's virtues. It's the 13 virtues: temperance, silence, order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, cleanliness, tranquility, chastity, and humility. And at the end of every single day for a week, he'd go by temperance. And then at the end of the day, and temperance is being sober, because he figures he put temperance number one, because if you're not sober, nothing else matters. But if you're sober and don't eat to excess and don't drink to excess, you can go on to the other ones. But so every day for the first week, he'd go temperance. And did I use temperance today? Did I not eat to excess or drink to excess? He said never drink to elation, he called it. And if he did, put it down. If he didn't, he would do it. The next week, he would start with silence. If you just take two, frugality and industry, just teach our kids two, frugality and industry. If you work hard and save your money, more than likely you're going to have a successful life, as well as your children are going to have a successful life. We don't teach virtues in our schools. And like I said, only the virtuous can be free. And that's really why I'm running for governor. I want my freedom back. I want to be free. And the only way we can be free if we educate our kids and to be virtuous. I'm telling you, I don't understand it.
Yeah, okay. Now, Ken, let me get in right quick. Like you said, governor, and I thought about that for a second, man. You wanted to run for governor specifically, but
to do something for Alabama and the people. We got to, everything's local. That's something we got to do local. I mean, DC is global. We got to take care of Alabama and Alabamians.
Got you. But there are a lot of other ways that you can affect change. You could be a senator, you could be an activist, you could be a commentator. A lot of ways. Why governor?
I mean, it's, I guess that's my personality. And I spent 25 years not getting paid, but just working for my industries down in Montgomery. That's kind of what I met all the guys down there, know how it works, and the gals or whatever, and know how it works. Don't like how it works. And I was like, you know what? If we actually get a governor that is for the people, all the people, and because even when there's like a big issue down there, there was a big issue on healthcare or whatever, and the folks down there said, well, okay, we'll get you all in there, y'all work it out. That's usually what they say. Y'all work it out. When y'all work it out, we'll do it. Well, there's usually no one there. Well, the people are working it out that are saying what's best for the people. It's like, so we need a people guy down there or whatever. Say, you know what? I want to talk about the people.
Okay.
And so that's my motivation. I've been a people person, and I like people. I'm not really a people person, kind of an introvert, but I like,
Gotcha.
in my business, I've met a lot of people.
Okay. So I want to ask you this, man. You talked about healthcare a little bit, but I want to kind of talk about, if you could, in your mind, one of the most broken things in Alabama right now, that people really aren't talking about. I know you said healthcare, but are there something that's the most broken thing in Alabama that really needs to be fixed that people aren't talking about?
Yeah, the people of Alabama. If we get our kids virtuous, if we get, and we teach virtues to our children, companies from all over the world will fall all over themselves to come here and hire our children. I mean, virtuous people are free people. If we teach our kids to be virtuous and stop all the nonsense that comes down from DC, and they control the purse string, so we've got to teach all the nonsense that they do. We're set. If we start with education, and then also that'll help with the healthcare, because people will actually learn what to eat. And when you do the virtues and become virtuous, you're not going to eat the stuff that they're feeding us. And hopefully people wake up. The only way to be free is to be educated and virtuous.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's number one. And the healthcare, like I said, Rockefeller, and this is not conspiracy. Look it up. This is history. Rockefeller took over our healthcare industry, period. And I always say, and Rockefeller wants complicit workers, and our schools teach memorization and compliance. That's pretty much what they do. They teach you to memorize and comply. And if you excel at that, the brightest students that blow away school, that are brightest stars, where do they go? They get accepted to medical school. And they're told, because they remember what they're told and they do what they're told. That's why so few doctors stood up to the nonsense 5 years ago with the COVID fiasco. And then some people just bought. I never bought into it. I knew something was wrong, and I never bought into it. And I was, lucky, but I guess I was a little ADHD. I didn't pay attention in school. So we got to take our schools back. We got to teach virtues in our school.
Okay. All right. So let's just say, man, the election pops off and you win that thing. All right. You win that governor
Don't
thing.
be surprised if I do. Tuberville's been doing some really bad stuff. I mean, and he doesn't live in Alabama. Some of the leadership in the Republican Party. If you look at the political parties, generally the people that kind of gravitate towards them, and this is what turns off a lot of people or whatever, why a lot of people don't want to serve on that, because a lot of people have servants' hearts, but when they get in there, a lot of the folks there are sycophants, which is just a big word for a butt kisser, and opportunists. And that's kind of who gravitates towards the leadership in political parties. They want a name tag. They want to feel important, but they're opportunists and they're sycophants, and they want political favor and they want advantage. And that's both parties. I mean, both are, and then the government and the powers that be use our political parties to divide us. They use race to divide us. They use money to divide us. They use, LBGQ or whatever the heck it's called to divide us. And I hate that. And that's a huge, massive thing. And I don't get the LBGQ community. I mean, if I don't care. Whatever you want to do behind closed doors, knock yourself out. I don't want to hear about it. If
Okay, let's
I mean,
let me. I want to finish that question up just again. Now, if you win, what kind of changes would you make your first 100 days as governor?
Get the teachers in there, get the Department of Agriculture in there, get the one of the very first things I'm going to do is I'm going to put Article 1, Section 35, that the sole object and only legitimate end of government is to protect the citizen in the enjoyment of life, liberty, property, and property. And when the government assumes other functions, it's usurpation and oppression. We're just finishing up, it'll be finished this year supposedly, a new legislative building, a beautiful facility down in Montgomery. That needs to be at every entrance and in every single meeting room in that building. That will be that will, and I'll get donations to do it. It won't cost the government a dime, because that we got to get our folks down in Montgomery to remember, we the people empower government. We the people didn't give you as much. You're using usurpation and oppression over the folks, and and it's wrong. We got to get our government back in line and in check.
Okay, okay, Ken. So I hear you. You've been very vocal, man, about Senator Tommy Tuberville. So what is your issue with him? Just plain and simple. What's your issue with Tommy Tuberville?
I'm questioning his manhood. Um, if all we have in life is our word, that's all a man has. At the end of the day, all we have in life is our word. If your word means nothing, you know, no one has any respect for you. You'll lose friends, family. Your word means nothing. He says he lives in Florida today, and the Constitution says you have to live here for 7 years continuously. Today, his flight logs came out from 2021, where he gets reimbursed. These are Senate reimbursement flight logs, where he flies back from Washington, D.C., and he flies home. Well, in 2021, and that's when the clock was ticking on his 7 years, he flew 9 times. Not one of them landed in Alabama. Always Fort Walton, Destin. He lives at the beach. He's got a, our Constitution says you have to live here. Your domicile, not residence. You can own residences all over the place. You have to live here. He fly that whole year. He never flew into Auburn. Maybe for a game, but never for because he lives. He needs to release his credit cards, his power statements, his tax returns. He needs to prove he lives in Alabama. He's got a $6.5 million beach house. I don't belittle him. If I had a $6.5 million beach house, I'd be living in my beach house. I would not be living in my address of convenience that he's using in Auburn to get around our Constitution. That's not what a man does. And I'm calling him out. He's either got to bring the records out or step down. And the flight logs came out. He can't get around that. And there's some criminal things to do with that may come as a result of that. He's voted in Alabama for the last 6 years. That's voter fraud if he's living in Florida. And I've been told by the folks that the people that, and there's going to be more stuff coming out, that released the flight logs from 2021, that there's something wrong. There's a federal crime, because it's you're allowed to reimburse to fly home to your own state, but they're not going to reimburse you to fly to another state, because that's your own business. They'll pay you to fly home. Well, he turned his flight expenses to fly to Florida, not home. Well, I mean, he was flying home to Florida, but they'll fly you to your home state where they voted you from. So, I mean, I don't. And then the Republican Party love them, but like I said, the psychopaths of both parties and the opportunists tend to gravitate towards those, and they didn't do what's right. They're not doing what's right. They didn't rule. They just came out of ruling and denied my challenge. They did not rule that he lives in Alabama. They did not look at any records to prove he lives in Alabama. All they ruled was, we're not going to look at it.
Okay. All
That's
right.
it.
So saying with that question, I know you question his residence. And you talk about the flight logs, and you talk about he has not released all of these different things. Now, when it comes down to the regular Alabamian, the everyday Alabamian, why should they be so concerned about that? Because I've heard a lot of people talking about they are so in love with his politics and some of the stuff that he's doing. Why should they be so concerned that he's not a Alabama?
I mean, I don't understand. Like you said, in love with his politics, he's up in D.C. getting through the Armed Service Committee, Palantir Software, military and intelligence agency software, Palantir, and the guy that owns Palantir, his last company was owned by Jeffrey Epstein and an old Prime Minister of Israel. So who's running this intelligence agency software being used against us? And it's the Palantir and using Gotham software that is going to be used in the data centers. And every time we leave our house, the cameras are going to be everywhere. They're going to use facial recognition cameras against the American people. Military and intelligence agency software designed to be used against our enemies, and he's using it against us. And the leadership in the Republican Party is supporting him. It's like, guys, he's not a Republican. I'm 100 times more Republican than he is. I believe in personal rights. I believe in freedom. That's not freedom. And it's kind of like, and you're supporting this guy? I mean, military and intelligence agency software designed for our enemies turned on the American people. And like I said, everything we do now is going to be watched with this that he turned on, and he passed after and to fund this. He got on TV, said, "We got to get back up there in his folksy way. We got to get back up there and pass this big beautiful bill." Well, the big beautiful bill funded Palantir and Gotham Software. That's why. Why do you think these billion-dollar data centers are being built in Alabama? It's TommyTuberville. It's going to be used to use facial recognition software, monitor everything we do online, all our banking, everything we do is going to be monitored by the government. And then they just, 15 or 18 Republicans just crossed over and voted to allow the federal government now. This is what they're doing. And this is the leadership, some of the leadership in the Republican Party is doing. They voted where the federal government can turn off your car out of nowhere. Just turn off your car, and go throw yourself back to COVID when they said you couldn't leave your house. Now, if something idiotic comes up because the government's good at making emergencies, we're going to turn off everybody's car. You can't move, and we're going to turn off all your credit cards. Can't spend any money.
Okay,
He's doing this, and they're supporting him. It's insanity.
Okay, all right. So let me ask you this question. A lot of people saying, "Hey, it's a political rivalry." You're saying, "Hey, I'm a Republican. He's not." How do you respond to stuff like that?
No, this is about freedoms, and I'm for the people. I mean, I want all the people. I want white people, black people, rich people, poor people. I want LGBTQ, whatever you want. I was talking to a guy the other day, and they use that so bad to divide us. I mean, even if I did the math yesterday because I wanted to figure out what percent of your life are you actually having sex, for lack of a better word. I give and if you're like, if it's 1%, I think it's going to be like 100 and something minutes a week or whatever. And so and the narrative is they want you to define yourself by what you do 1% of the time. They want you to define your whole existence and then use that against other people. I mean, they've weaponized it and it's just idiotic. No one cares. I mean, I hate to, if you look in the media, there's media stories about it, and there's been rumors about it for years or whatever, for folks, but about Kay Ivey, and and if you look at the media and Google her sexuality, whatever, and it's come into question, as in the past or whatever, but nobody cares. We just don't want to hear about it. She doesn't define herself by that one way or the other. So it's not. It's a no. Who cares?
Okay. All right. So I understand. You're talking about everything about Tommy Tuberville. You're saying this is true about his flight laws. He's not brought all this stuff out. His residence. He's not been living here 7 years. If all of you're saying it is true, how come this isn't a bigger story? Why are they not covering this in the newspapers, on TV? Why are
Are
they
you
not covering
kidding me? I mean, okay, let me ask you something. How many people in your audience right now, including you, and then you answer the question, do you trust the media?
Well, you really have to
Simple
look
question. Do you
in
trust
your
the
media.
media?
I don't always trust the media. I'm being
Do
honest
you
with you.
trust the big money behind politicians?
Not always. Not always.
The media and the big money behind the politicians has been a foregone conclusion since day one. That's why no big names ran against him, that he's going to be our next governor. There's the biggest uh, conservative news outlet out there that talks about politics. I've been a declared candidate for like 8 months. Has
Mm.
not mentioned my name one time, even when I
Wow.
qualified. Not one
Wow.
time, not once. And it's kind of like but I mean, this story is getting a lot of attention because
Yeah.
even the Republicans, nobody believes them, and even the ones that kind of do, like my brother. He goes,
Yeah.
"Well, man, I know he doesn't live in Alabama, but he's got a house that he can get around it. He's rich, he knows everybody." It's like,
Mm.
no, you have to live here, and he can't
Yeah.
prove he lives here. I ran, and this is what a big story it is. I mean, I'm just a regular Yahoo from Pelham, Alabama, and I'm not, I don't have a political pedigree. I don't have the media. Don't have $20 million behind me that people are giving me. But I ran a Carfax on his truck, and
Yeah.
just to see what it said. It
Yeah.
got 125,000 views in like 30 hours on my
Wow.
Facebook page
Wow.
because it showed in 2024. Now, he said he moved back to Alabama in 2019. In
Yeah.
21, he never came back to Alabama on a flight log. So the whole year of 21, he wasn't in Alabama. In
Wow.
24, on his Carfax shows where your car was serviced, if it had any accidents and all that. Well, he had 4 services done to his truck in 2024. All 4 were in Destin, Florida.
Mm.
Then he declared he was going to run for governor in 2025. The next 3 services were in Auburn. So he didn't move to Alabama until 2025. If he's willing, if he's going to be a man and his word's being questioned, man up, release your credit card statements. They show a pattern of where you live. Release your power bills. They'll show when you're in residence. And your flight logs, the rest of them or whatever, this is going to slowly leak out. He can't get around this. The genie's out of the bottle. I mean, 2 minutes, no, when even the Republicans don't believe him, that's pretty bad. And
Okay.
a lot of the conservative, not the sycophants and the opportunists within the party that are just doing what they're told for political favor and opportunity. I'm talking about the real conservative Republicans. No damn, we're not stupid. We
Yeah.
wouldn't live in we would not live in a $270,000. He hadn't lived in a $270,000 garden home in 45 years. Man makes a ton of cash. When he did
Yeah.
live in Auburn, he had a $2.5 million lake house. That if he said he lived there, that would be believable, but not in a little garden home. It's his game day condo. He
Yeah.
lives in his, and so would I. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. If I had a $6 million beach house, I wouldn't even run for office. I'd stay in my beach house.
Yeah. All right. So I understand, man. Some people say that you might have criticized your own party. Why is that risky, but sometimes necessary for you to criticize folks in your own party?
They're not doing the right thing. I'm a Republican. When I and how I became a Republican, I went to Berry High School, and when I was 18 years old, I graduated in '79. When my very first time I voted as a Republican. And why I did that is I looked down at Montgomery, and it was so corrupt. I mean, it was incredibly corrupt, and it's like this is not what I'm at. I'm about freedoms. I'm about honesty, openness. I'm about Article 1, Section 35 about limited government. I don't want the federal government doing what they're doing, and Tommy Tuberville's helping them. I'm not about that. So it's like I'm a Republican. I'm a good guy because it was so dirty down there, and that's why I'm a Republican. But now some of the same folks that were down there are in leadership position in the Republican Party, and it's like I don't care about them. I want the people. Like I said, I want to help I want my freedom back, and you don't get your freedom back by being a sycophant and an opportunist. And that's who, unfortunately, and they populate both parties. So anyhow, I don't care. I'm going to call everybody out that's not for freedom, not for limited government, and is against the people. And I think there's too many within both parties that are doing that, and they also use it to divide us by party. We got to do what's best for Alabama, all Alabama.
Okay, so with this next question, I'm gonna kind of repeat on that. So do you believe party loyalty has been replaced with accountability in Alabama? I know you said
I,
you're gonna hold everybody accountable for whatever you'll call them out, whoever. Do you
I
think that's been
think
replaced?
I think party loyalty, and they use that, and they do use that. I mean, and you probably know that more than anyone, especially in the well, that's in the white community too. If they tell white people you're a Democrat, they look like you're an idiot.
Yeah.
A lot of them, and what was Malcolm X. He said the worst thing for America and a black man is a white liberal. And then I kind of laugh. I said, I'm going to one up you because Doug Jones, I said, the worst thing for the American, a black man or any man is a Mountain Brook white liberal. Because like, so it's like, but I've had talk. I've worked in Bessemer for 35 years. I've known my,
Okay.
and I work with the public. So
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my customers, I've been known them for years, and I mean their whole lives. And they'll say, if you say you're a Republican, you're ostracized,
Mhm.
and it's almost like what happened during COVID. If you didn't do what they told you to do, families were torn apart, ostracized, and they kind of do that with political parties. And it's like, no, we got to have a dialogue. We got to be able to talk about issues, not right, left, Republican, Democrat, because all my customers in Bessemer, not all of them, but the majority, and this is when I knew something's wrong. They all think like I do. They do. They all think like they want personal freedoms. They want, healthy, educated kids. They want safety. They want, a job. They all think we all think alike, but our parties don't, and they use it to divide us. And it's like, but I'm the Republican, and I became a Republican because in my mind we're the good guys, and
Okay.
and most people are good people. Most people want the good guys.
Yeah. Okay. So I understand, I let you talk earlier and you was just telling me about how, all the different people and you was, educating me on what they're teaching us, so on and so forth. But have you personally faced pushback or intimidation for speaking out?
Yes, by the party, and that's what blows my mind. I'm going to speak to the Mid Alabama Republican Party next Saturday. I'm past president of the Mid Alabama Republican Party. I'm going to address that issue. They're not supposed to take sides in primaries, and there's kind of too many in the leadership, not in the people, but the leadership of the Republican Party in the governor's race. Because if you look just at the issues and the contested ballots, I contested Tuberville, and a lot more people contested John Wall, and if you just look at what happened there, John Wall was like half of the people voted to look further, the other half didn't, and there was a tiebreaker by the chairman of the Republican Party. It was unanimous not to look at Tuberville, unanimous. And it's
Mm.
like, what? And like I said, the Republican Party did not say he lives in Alabama. They did
Mm.
not look into it, and that's all they're saying. We're not going to look into it. And it's like, no, you can't do that. You have to look, But anyhow, they did, and they ruled it. And I may send a letter requesting him to take another look, especially in light of the flight logs and the Carfax showing, that he doesn't live in Alabama, and it's going to end up ugly. I mean, he's
Yeah.
tearing the Republican Party apart.
Wow.
Because it's based on a lie, and it's going to end up in court. I'm in the process of making some legal challenge.
Yeah.
Doug Jones is 100% going to. It's going to
Okay.
end up in court for the next year. It's going to be totally ugly if
Yeah.
he wins the primary and then gets taken off the ballot after the primary.
Mm.
Then the Republicans will lose because the only way that they can't replace them, if you have a candidate on a ballot after the primary and before the general, and they're sick or die, the Republican steering committee can name a successor. But if they're taken off by a court, they don't get to name a successor. So Doug Jones will be the only valid one on the ballot. They can try a write-in campaign at the last minute, but there's going to be so many disillusioned Republicans with the leadership for not doing the right thing. I don't think they can, beat someone that's actually on the ballot with a write-in candidate.
Okay.
If they wait till after the election and then the general election, and he's a sitting governor, and that's when the verdict comes down that he doesn't live in Alabama, and he's removed, then the lieutenant governor is going to become governor. But either way, it's a horrible look for the Republican Party. It's a horrible look for Alabama. And if it would be different if he was a man of the people trying to protect the people's rights, but he's not. And
Okay.
it's like, it's ugly.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you're sounding the alarm for the Republican Party, and sounding the alarm for the Alabama people to let them know about Tommy Tuberville. But so what happens to people in Alabama politics who don't play alone? It looks like you're not playing alone, Ken.
No. Well, I mean, but like I said, we got the people we vote for. I mean, Tuberville is going to have $20 million. They've given it up. Who the heck gets $20 million? People are writing him checks the first day. I think like 10 or 15 people wrote checks for $100,000 and more.
Wow.
I put 20 grand of my own money in this, and I mean, it's blowing up all over the state. I mean, I've got more press this week than anyone could dream of, and
Wow.
it's because I'm telling the truth. And
Yeah.
no one's heard a politician tell the truth in a very long time.
Yeah.
I'm an avid reader. I love the founding fathers. I love the rule of law. I think the rule of law is that's where our constitutions are supposed to come from. That's where our laws are supposed to come from. And it protects the people. And I think the people have been left out for a little too long. So it's time to take it back. And I'm not at war with the establishment. I'm not. I don't want to fight I mean, I know who's in the businessmen run Alabama. I mean, and I'm not going in there with my own set of contractors and my own set of bridge builders. I mean, the big money and big folks in Alabama that get everything done, they're not my enemy. I need them to do the changes I want to empower the people, to get the people educated so we can have our freedoms back. Because, like I said, an ignorant country and a free country is what never was and never will be. And they want us ignorant. That's why our schools don't teach us the virtues. But if we get a virtuous populace, and it's not going to take long, it will not take long. We're free. People are free.
Okay.
And then the companies will come. The Mercedes had such a hard time hiring folks, sober folks, people that would come up. The virtues. Stay sober, work hard, save your money. This is what freedom is.
Okay. Okay. So I want to ask you this question. What would you say to voters who feel tired, cynical, just checked out by some of the stuff that you've been talking about? People want to be free. They want to live their life. They want to have the virtues. But what about these people that are just tired of it? They're tired of politics. They feel checked out.
Well, start listening to me. You won't be checked out anymore. It's like, dang on, that he's for real. And I am real. And
Okay.
Tuberville's not. He's a machine. He is the speaker for, and like I said, I'm not at war with them. I'm not at war with establishment. I'm not. And like I said, I need them. And I need the conservatives. I need the liberals. Alabama has to come together. It's so crazy internationally, in Davos where they meet and whatever, and their monetary supply. And if those folks, and there is awakening up, a mass awakening, people are waking up to who's really in charge, and they're going to do a little shake up. When they shake up, if Alabama can't feed itself, a lot of people are going to get hurt. A lot of people are going to die. We have to be prepared in case something like that, or when that happens. We have to be, and freedom's local. We can't do. I mean, they're trying to do 15-minute cities in Davos where you can't leave 15 minutes if you leave of your place. They're already doing this in England. We don't want any of that in Alabama. We want to be free. We want freedom of movement. We don't want the government telling us where we can and cannot go. It's bull crap.
Okay. So now let me ask you this question, Ken. When we look at a governor, and you said you were a business guy, you said you understood politics, you understood what was going on in Montgomery. But what would be your biggest weakness as a candidate?
I don't. No one's giving me $20 million to sell my soul, and the media is not behind me.
Okay,
You know,
media
but
and money, right?
and like I said, and when and Tuberville's more than likely going to have to step down or release the information because he can't keep hiding behind lawyers and the psychopaths and opportunists in the leadership position of the Republican Party. They don't represent the people of Alabama. They represent the Republican Party, and I salute them in what they're doing. But the Republicans and people of Alabama want our freedoms. We want what's right. We don't want release all the information to prove you live in Alabama. Oh, and I also told that, and I challenged him because I challenged his manhood. So when you challenge someone's manhood to do the right thing, if he does the right thing and releases the credit card information, his tax, where he's filed taxes for the last 6, 7 years or whatever, and his power bills, and it clearly shows that he's a domicile, a resident of Alabama, and it abides by the Constitution. Not only will I drop the legal proceedings against him, I will also that are coming. I will also step out of the campaign. I will donate $1,000 to his campaign, and I will vote for him.
Okay,
That's how sure I am he won't do the right thing. I will
okay,
I will drop the legal proceedings, step out of the campaign, donate him his campaign $1,000 out of my personal check, and vote for him. Period.
awesome, awesome. So in this situation, I'm gonna give you a scenario. If you lose, what happens next? And if you win, who keeps you accountable?
I've mouthed off a lot. They're going to keep me accountable. It's kind of like, so, and I mean, I know I don't know if prayer helps, but I do pray, I do meditate, I do fast. I don't like I said, I don't know if it helps the people you're praying for, but it helps me. And in the prayer, I put a little bit more since I've been running for office, a little bit more focus, and I say it every night. And that's what if you go back to Ben Franklin's 13 virtues, it's habitude. When you do something, when he did the virtues, he knew no one's ever perfect. You'll never be a perfectly virtuous person. Only Jesus was. He knew that. But habitude. But when I'm saying my prayers at night or whatever, and I always do the Lord's Prayer or whatever, and spend a little extra time and like, Ken, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So it's kind of like, Ken, you will have temptation, and you want to be delivered from that evil. So it's kind of like and that helps me. I mean, everybody's different. I don't want to do any roulette, but that helps me and it keeps me grounded.
Gotcha. So when we asking the question, when you get to be governor, that's a lot of power, man, and power changes people. Why won't it change you, Ken?
Um, I mean, I'm sure it'll change everyone or whatever, but I'm not. I've been the same guy my entire life. I'm a very loyal friend. I mean, my same friends I've had. They come over on Wednesday nights and we play pool. And a guy just passed away a week ago. One of our guys. I've known him, and he's been coming over my house and friends. I've known him since the 8th grade. The other guy that comes over. Jim, I've known him since the 10th grade, I think.
Awesome.
The other guy I've known since probably freshman in college. And the new guy in the group, the new guy we've known for 26 years. So, and he's the new guy. We still call him the new guy. I
Okay.
mean, I'm very, very loyal. And that's just my personality and hard headed. So it's like, that's who I am.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Awesome. I basically want to ask you this question, man. What do you want people to remember about your campaign? Whether it's win, loss, or draw, what do you want people to remember?
That I told the truth, and hopefully we can get the virtues taught in school. And they said, if I actually won governorship, what would I want to be remembered by with that? If we can get our kids to be virtuous, if we can actually, that's education. All the other BS is nonsense. I mean, I know, the history that we teach, if you look at who writes the history books and all that, it is history, but it's more memorization. It's not, and there's revisionist history, and the history is written by the winners, and that's another thing. Tuberville more than likely is going to try to get to take away our First Amendment rights. He's mentioned it on several occasions when there was some protests at college campuses over the war in Israel and Palestine. He said, Hey, all protesters should be arrested for hate speech. 22 states have passed hate speech laws, including Florida, that's run by a Republican. I mean, I don't support everything you say, but I'll fight for your right to say it. You can say the stupidest thing on the world in the world as long as it's not going to hurt somebody, or or something like that, inciting riots or something like that. You've got the right to your opinion, and if it's for a foreign country's war, you've got the right to your opinion. And he wants to pass a new set of hate laws where you can't question or a foreign government, you can't question Zionism, you can't question anything, you can't question the media, you can't question banking, you can't question anything, or you're guilty of a hate crime. And it's like, this is a Republican doing this, and he's got the support of way too many people, and we can't go down that road. I'm a big First Amendment, Second Amendment. I believe in the Constitution, and he wants to do away with the First Amendment U.S. Constitution, and he wants to circumvent Alabama's Constitution with a residence of convenience. That's not who we want for our governor. It's like, I don't get it. And then I think people are waking up. I mean, this story is blowing up. He cannot hide, behind lawyers and some of the folks in the Republican Party that ruled in his favor. Not ruled in his favor, that ruled not to look into his residency. Not that he lives in Alabama. They just ruled they're not going to look into it. So it's like, this story's become too. He's got to come clean with the people of Alabama or step down. It's his choice. And there may be some criminal charges coming out of it. So he's going to have to do something. And it can't just be hide behind lawyers and say what he was interviewed on CNN, made national news. A reporter stuck the mic in his face. Well, there's a contestant, someone's contested your residency status. He goes, well, I ran it up the flagpole and the Republican Party says it's okay. And that doesn't mean you live in Alabama. Running it up the flagpole and the Republican Party saying it's okay does not mean you live in Alabama. And then they asked him, well, what would you do? What's going to happen if you don't win? He said, well, I'll go fishing. And it's like, well, and if you do go fishing, I will buy you your fishing license, and I'll buy it for you in Florida because that's where you live and that's where you'll use it.
All right. So I know you're sticking with it. The TommyTuberville does not live in Alabama. It lives in Florida. And Ken, man, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and being a part of the What If show today. It was such a great time, man, to listen and get the full first point of your story, man. I really appreciate it. And maybe someday you come back on and me and you kick it sometimes, have a good time with each other.
No question. And I'll give you this. I love what you do. You are the future of news. Most people don't believe the news shows. They don't believe the media. You are the future of news. And thank God you're doing this. I mean, seriously, because this is the only way the real truth is going to get out. Thank you for what you do.
Man, I sure appreciate you, man. And like I said, real people are listening and watching every day. They talk about it. They really hear about this.
And that's who I want to talk to. That's why, I mean, thank God there's people like you. I mean, thank you. And I know this is not easy. This is your, Tuesday night, this is your time. You could be, kicking back with your buddies or whatever, your wife, whatever you do, you've got a calling. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good night.
All right. This is What If Show. My man Ken. All right.